So we are less than 1 week out from the biggest show in all of bodybuilding, the Mr. Olympia competition for 2022. I'm going to give you guys my picks, a preview, and some analysis of the classic Physique Olympia. So stay tuned. What's good, everybody? This is Brant at the Classic Physique Collective, your home for classic physique news and all the updates, previews, highlights, you name it. Today, I've got a preview for the 2022 Mr. Olympia and Classic Physique for you guys. Some analysis, my picks to win, so let's check it out. So let's jump into the show details first. So this year's Classic Olympia is only on one day. That is Saturday, December 17th, 2022. Prejudging is going to be in the morning, and finals will be in the evening. You can expect prejudging to start sometime around 9 a.m. Pacific time or 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So kind of a late start if you're on the East Coast. And then finals are set to start at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So a little bit of a late finish if you're on the East Coast, but it'll all be worth it because this is going to be a crazy show, guys. We got 66 guys who are qualified for the Classic Physique Olympia. It's going to be not only the biggest, but it is the deepest. I was having a really difficult time picking my top 10 guys, so I can't even imagine what this battle is going to be like to even just place. It will be very interesting to see how the shows run, how the initial call outs are done as well. So I'll be very intrigued to see how this goes, if they can fit all 66 guys on one stage. But we're going to start out with my top 10 picks. Starting out at number 10, I've got Alex Cambronero out of Costa Rica. He finished 6th in last year's Olympia. He's an Arnold Classic champ. In 9th place, I've got Mike Sommerfield from Germany. He finished 7th at last year's Olympia. In 8th place, I have Chen Kang, better known as Branch Chen, from China. He last appeared at the Olympia in 2019 where he took 5th. He won this year's Vancouver Pro. In 7th place, bit of a wild card pick, guys, Neil Currey out of the UK. He won this year's New York Pro, and he's making his Olympia debut. Going to be interesting to see if he can make weight, but if he does, damn, he's going to be dangerous. In 6th place, Fabian Mayr out of Austria. Another guy that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but they should be. He finished in 8th last year, and I think his shape is one of the best on stage. In 5th place, slipping a couple of spots from last year's Breon Ansley, 2-time Classic Olympia champ, one of the GOATs, truly. He is also an Arnold Classic champ. I mean, I love Breon's physique. I just think there are too many things happening in terms of trajectory. I think just it's really hard to place Breon ahead of Ramon and Urs this year. So I've got Breon in 5th. In 4th place, I've got Ramon Dino out of Brazil. He came in 2nd at this year's Arnold. He came in 5th at last year's Olympia. In 3rd place, I've got Urs Kalaczynski. He won the Boston Pro this past year. He also won the Kuwait Pro, I believe. And Urs finished in 3rd place at the Arnold, 4th place at last year's Olympia. In 2nd place, 2-time Arnold Classic champ, the best poser in the world, one of the best in Classic Physique, Terrence Ruffin. I got him in 2nd place, Rough Diesel. And then in 1st place, the most famous man in fitness, 3-time Classic Olympia champ. I don't think he's going to get dethroned this year. I got C-Bum, Chris Bumstead, taking home his 4th consecutive Classic Physique Olympia. So those are my top 10 picks, guys. I'm going to just talk about some of these matchups, who to watch out for, kind of why I'm placing guys like this. So let's check it out. Why am I picking who I'm picking? So I think Chris is going to win the Olympia again because he's improved. We know that. He has gotten bigger. It looks like he has. He's had room to grow because he was about 10 pounds under his weight cap the last time that he competed. So I think Chris has used that to put on more muscle. So another thing as well, there's been a lot of speculation with a lot of these other places that call themselves bodybuilding news. The stuff they do is way too speculative, and frankly, it's unfair to Chris and other bodybuilders. But people have talked about the coaching situation, Chris's bicep, when there's nothing wrong with it, like all kinds of bullshit. And really, I think what it comes down to is Chris has won this 3 times in a row for a reason. He's working with the best coach in the world right now. That's Hani Rambod. So I don't think Chris is going to have any trouble. He's in the right state of mind. He's gotten better. I think he's going to take home his 4th title because of all of that stuff. Now, getting into probably the most intriguing battle, and that is the battle between Ramon, Urs, and Terrence. So what intrigues me the most, particularly about this, is you have the 2 best posers in the world, which Terrence and then Urs. And then you've also got the meteoric rise of Urs and Ramon, but also the battle that goes on between these guys. Now, I really think the Urs and Ramon matchup is tough because I think it's like a coin toss on any given day. So, for example, at last year's Olympia, Urs placed ahead of Ramon, but at the Arnold, Ramon placed ahead of Urs. Now, I really think it's going to be tough because really at this point it's just speculation as to who's improved more, who's going to show up better on the day of the show. That's what matters. And to me, I think it's probably going to be Urs, simply because 2 things. Ramon has to suffer a little bit to make weight because he was over the weight cap by quite a few pounds. I think like 10 or 15 pounds as of like a week and a half out. So I think that might factor into things a little bit. And then 2, I think Urs actually has something that Ramon does not have. And that is, I think his back double bicep is better, which is the pose that I really think is going to set Terrence apart from Ramon and Urs. So if we take a look at this shot from the Arnold Classic, this is a back double bicep. And here, you're going to notice that we got Breon on the far right, Ramon to his left, Terrence to the left of Ramon, and Urs on the far left. Now, what you're going to see, I think this is a pose that Terrence and Breon actually win. Although we'll get to Breon later, but I think Breon loses on other poses. But ultimately, I think this is the pose that really puts Terrence ahead of Ramon and Urs. And why is that? If you look to Terrence's right, you're going to notice across the top line, him and Ramon are pretty even. They both have that straight line across the anterior delt in the bicep peak that you're looking for. That's truly classic, the symmetry. But when you get into the back, big difference. A lot more thickness in the rhomboids and the traps, in the lats, a lot more width from Terrence as well. So I think Terrence beats Ramon pretty badly in that pose. Now below the waist, I actually think I think that's a close one. I would actually probably give this to Urs simply because he has the biggest glutes and hamstrings, but it's not by much in the lower body. In the upper body, I do think Terrence outshines Urs because of the top line. You're going to see that Urs doesn't necessarily have the bicep peaks that align with the anterior delt like Ramon and Terrence have. Urs does have more lat width than Ramon does, but I don't think he has the density that Terrence does. So I think Terrence, because of this pose alone, is going to beat Ramon and Urs. Now, from what I've seen, I do think Urs and Ramon have improved, but so is Terrence. Terrence has put on 5 pounds of stage weight, so I don't think Terrence is losing this pose. And he doesn't lose any other pose to Ramon and Urs. And if he does, it's not by much. I think this pose is a landslide win for Terrence, and this is going to be the reason why he takes second. So why do I have Breon in 5th? Well, I've got Breon in 5th because I just think, unfortunately, time's catching up with him. And Breon, I want to pay homage, is one of the GOATs, 2-time classic physique Olympia champ for a reason. He's one of the reasons why I got into bodybuilding, to be honest with you guys. But if we take a look at this ab and thigh from the Arnold, you're going to see that Breon, unfortunately, I think one thing that really just tells the story is he's just a little bit blockier than Ramon, Terrence, and and his quads are starting to fade a little bit, which is part of age. I mean, Breon's in his mid-40s. These guys are all in their mid-20s or early 20s, so big age difference. Man, I love Breon's physique. I just think that there are too many poses where these guys just look more classic than he does. So that's why I've got Breon in 5th place. Now, why do I have Fabian Mayr in 6th place? Pretty strange. You know, he jumps up 2 places ahead of guys he did not beat last year. I think Fabian has one of the best shapes in this lineup. I'm actually very intrigued to see him stand next to Ramon and because he's a tall guy, has big quads, beautiful shape, incredible lines. Very classic look. Really, the only reason why I think he got 8th last year was because he wasn't quite as sharp as he should have been. He's working with Boss of Outlaw still, and I think from his previous show win that helped him qualify for the Olympia, he is going to be sharper than last year. So that's why I have him in 6th. Neil Currey's an interesting one. I like Neil in 7th because he has arguably in this whole show, maybe with the exception of Chris Bumstead, and maybe Mike Sommerfield, I think the best front lat spread, but Neil has one of the best shapes. The only thing that makes me hesitate a bit is he has to make weight, and he's bone dry peeled already, and he's still about 7-8 pounds over as of like 6 days out. So that's a little bit of a concern. However, he does have 3 whole days to fill out before the show, which is kind of the reason why his previous show looks, even when he won the New York Pro, he only had a day to fill out. He's got 3 days this time around. I think we're going to see probably the best we've seen out of Neil Currey. In 8th place, I got Chen Kang. So I think Branch is probably he's the biggest question mark out of any of these guys, and it's because his conditioning is not quite as good as these other guys, but I think his shape makes up for it, especially his quads. He might have the best quads in this whole lineup. Mike Sommerfield and Alex Cambronero, they finished back-to-back last year, 7th and 6th. They're coached by the same guy, Neil Hill. Now, this is one that I kind of struggled with because historically Alex comes in a lot better shape than Mike, but given that they're working with the same coach, I'm actually going to give Mike the nod over Alex simply because I think he has a better shape than Alex. It's not by much, but assuming they both come in relatively similar condition, I would actually probably pick Mike over Alex here. So who are some guys that I think could sneak their way into the top 10 who I did not have in the top 10? Let's check them out. These are the guys who I think are probably going to end up taking that 11 to 15 spot, and very well could sneak their way into the top 10. So first up, I've got Michael Daboul. Pretty easy pick here, I think, to be able to maybe finesse his way into the top 10. He won the Arnold Classic UK this year, and last year he won the Dubai Pro this year. He came in 5th place at this year's Arnold Classic behind Breon, Terrence, and Ramon. So, I think Michael Daboul is a guy to watch out for, especially because he's going to be one of the most peeled guys in this show. He's known for his conditioning. He very well could be the sharpest guy in this show. I think there's a couple other guys who might not place who are going to be close. It's probably Anthony Barbera and Jeff Hollenbeck. Their conditioning is also lights out. But I do think Michael Daboul is probably going to be fighting for somewhere in that 10 to 15 spot. Next up, Logan Franklin. Logan's probably the 3rd best poser in Classic behind Terrence Ruffin and I think Logan could fight his way into the top 10. My only concerns with him are his conditioning, which I actually think will probably be solved since he's working with Milos Sarcev. So my concern is probably his biggest weakness, which is his upper chest, and then also his back, especially in the lower half. I think he does not quite have the glutes and hamstrings to hang with some of these guys. So I've got Logan in the hunt for somewhere in 11 to 15. Next up, I've got the Black Panther, Dancovea Anderson. He won the Texas State Pro this year. He has one of the best shapes in this entire lineup, regardless of who we're talking about. He has just yet to solve the conditioning part of things. I do think his conditioning has improved as time has gone on. This is his second Olympia appearance. He did not place in his previous Olympia appearance a few years ago, but I mean, he's got the shape to carry him quite a ways. And I do think we'll see his best conditioning. I just don't know if it's quite enough to sneak into the top 10. Tony Duong is the next guy that I think could sneak in. He gave some trouble at Boston. Tony's a guy who brings a very polished stage presence and does not back down. He's not a big guy, but I'll be damned if he did not give a very difficult time when they were standing next to each other going pose for pose in a two-man call-out at Boston this year. So watch out for Tony as well. And then lastly, another guy who could sneak into the top 10, maybe fighting for the 11 to 15 spot, is Alex Westermeier out of Germany. Now, I really, really like Alex's look. I do think he lacks one body part in particular, and I think that's arms, but he was good enough to win Pittsburgh over Neil Currey, came in second to Neil at New York, and I think his lats might actually be some of the best out there. He's a big dude, has very quality lines, has a great classic look. I'm looking for him in kind of the 11 to 15 range as well. All right, y'all. So that is going to wrap it up for the Olympia preview. Again, you can catch the live stream. I'm going to put that down in the description. Make sure you follow me on social media to keep up on all the latest Olympia and classic physique news. That is at CPC Bodybuilding on Instagram. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to feed the algorithm. I want to thank you guys all for watching today. Make sure you check out my other content here at the Classic Physique Collective, and stay classic, everybody. See you later.